welcome to BDAR's Real Estate Market Watch. I'm Robin Jones, your 2020 president, and I'm here to help you navigate a little bit through the marketplace on where we've been and where we're going. The nice part about 2020 is half of its history, so that's good because we're all working now towards the future. And let's take a look at where we've been. So, in the 6-month overview for 2020 shows that beginning in January and February, we were looking at a pretty hot market. We were looking at the BDAR statistics were showing 263 units sold in January, followed by a strong February, and then we came into March. Well, of course, March 17th and St. Paddy's Day, I was always missing my St. Paddy's Day party as we basically were headed into the COVID-19 lockdown. And of course, that came with the fortunate circumstance for us to deem us as an essential service. This is it was a great situation for us to be able to provide the government with enough feedback to encourage them to keep us as an essential service, and because other provinces didn't do that. For instance, in Quebec, the realtors were not deemed essential service. So the statistic is for March, showing at 480 is basically about the same as February. But what we're looking at in March, as we know, is it's very heavily weighted in the top half, that first 2 weeks. This following 2 weeks, when kids were on March break and we were all kind of uncertain, we were told, okay, we're going to go in lockdown for 2 weeks. We all kind of thought it might be 2 weeks or it might be 3 weeks. So people took a bit of a break. Properties that were on the market didn't go on the market. People knew they had to stay at home. We were getting a lot of data, a lot of information was coming through the pipe. There's a lot of uncertainty for realtors and there's a lot of uncertainty for the public. So everyone stayed at home. We started to slow down the market. We recognized the fact that we were an essential service and we had to try to figure out what that meant to us. So for a lot of us that meant COVID-19 protocols started to come into place, meant that we were dealing with people that were in an essential situation, buyers that had to buy, sellers that had to sell. So realtors did their job, slowed the market down. By April, we ended up with 220 sales. If we look at some of the stats come out of Showing Time and Broker Bay, it figured by the mid-April we were at about 15% of the showing activity we were for the year previous. That reflected obviously in the number of sales. We started to come out with some showing ideas that would help us through the process, such as virtual showings. Didn't really go over too well. People were still convinced that if they could go to the grocery store and buy grapes, they wanted to look at the house they were going to buy. So we had people come out in a limited capacity under very strict regulations during that period, and houses did sell in the middle of April. But basically from about the middle of April, since that point in time, showing activity increased exponentially week over week. We tracked. BDAR came out with weekly statistics to help you navigate this process, keep you informed, and help you pass that through and keep your clients informed. So then come May, we're getting back into more of the normal situation that we were, but we were still very hesitant at the beginning of May. We started to see a lot of buyers come up from the city. I know that there was a lot of reasons they came up, but definitely we're dealing with this pent-up spring market demand that we were seeing starting in February, that we would have probably seen by the end of March. So that pent-up demand was accentuated by the fact that people now could get mortgages at a lower interest rate. They could stay at home and work, and that wasn't really an option for them. So all of a sudden we started to get people that thought that living in Simcoe County, Muskoka was out of the question because they didn't want to commute that dramatic distance every day, and now somebody's telling them, well, maybe if you come down once a week or once every 2 weeks, we can work collaboratively that way. So we're seeing a lot more of that demand. And then in the mid-May we get CMHC come out with, the prices are going to drop 25% or whatever. It depends on what you read, but that was kind of the number that was thrown around. That really got the press going. They love to run with that kind of statistics as doom and gloom, and let's publish it. And of course, they were running off of some of our statistics that we chose specifically not to publish because we were just doing what we were told, and that's slowing down the market. But when they see this 220 sale number in April, it's lovely for them to say in the press, oh look, the real estate market's tanking, we're down 50%. It didn't realize, well, as I talked to all the presidents around the province, they were all seeing this sort of same pent-up demand in the marketplace. So now heading into June, we're getting back up to market norms. One of our problems has been listings. Listings have been slower to come on than demand, and that's led to a very strong buyer's market. We've gone from 2.2 months of inventory in March 5.2 months in April, which was obviously expected because the fact that there were still people that had their properties sitting on the market just waiting for the market to pick up. And we didn't really know when that was going to be because we were all waiting for the state of emergency to end, which it never did in that month. And May we started to return to this normal marketplace, this 2.5 months of inventory, but by the end of May we were definitely in a lower supply situation, and that passed through into June with only 1.5 months. That, we're in a hyper seller's market at this point where we're getting multiple offer situations. Properties still are selling for upwards of 20% more than list in some cases, but most average-wise we're about 101, 102% of list price. So listing inventory in late June has started to increase. In terms of average sale price, we were on track for an increasing sale price quite dramatically in January, February, and even the average in March, even with the last 2 weeks not busy, it was still showing a rather linear increase. April was 526, it was obviously lower. It reflected a lot of interest in the lower market classes more than anything. And there were some people out there that were doing a little bit of panic selling. But for the most part, if you basically take that month out of there and slide everything over, we're sort of heading on the same linear track. April was the primary blip in the COVID-19 marketplace. And now in June we're up on track for 570, and it looks like we're going to follow that similar trend as we're starting to head into July. So when we look at Barrie, that was Simcoe County. Now we're looking at the Barrie only residential marketplace. A little bit more heterogeneous marketplace, a little bit more reflective. It doesn't show this more dramatic blip. We did see in April there seemed to be a lack of interest in the properties valued over $750, but that changed in May as we started to see some of these people that felt they could sell their properties in Toronto and come up here and buy something for a lot more money. And we were seeing the highest activity, over $1 million last month, that we've ever seen in our board. And of course, the waterfront in Barrie and Muskoka is just falling off the shelves. And now our average price in Barrie is at $552 for June, and again, we're probably going to see that increase in July. So here's our June stats. So basically now we're the greater Simcoe region, we're at 725. Barrie's at 325 in terms of units sold. Simcoe County, excluding Barrie's 400, Innisfil's at 64, really at 46, and Angus at 40. This is a compilation again from the Matrix 360 system, so it includes all boards that actively work in these regions. Going down to looking at us compared to 2019, Greater Simcoe region, we're up 47% in terms of units sold. Barrie's 42%, Simcoe County's 52%, Innisfil's at 14%. We get a little bit of a skewed result from that because it overlaps with TREB, and we're not drawing in that TREB data, which probably represents that, bring that up to probably closer to where we're at with the other areas. Aurelia is at 40% and Angus is at 33%. How has the average sale price changed? Well, overall, between Greater Simcoe region, Barrie only, and Simcoe County, excluding Barrie, we're looking at 11 to 12%, really closer to 12%. Barrie is more reflective again of a more contiguous marketplace, and 12% seems to be about the price change. This is compared to June 2019. And we get some stats that obviously we try to compare one year to the next year, and you get some people that are comparing months to months and weeks to weeks, and it can get pretty confusing. But overall, compared to last year, our prices are up 12%. In Innisfil, we're looking at 5.8%. That's showing there's a bit of a curve in there. Prices really went crazy in 2017 in Innisfil. In 2018, they actually came down, and in 2019. We saw them slowly they gained strength slower than Barrie did. And by the end, but if I look at the numbers by the end of 2018 for Innisfil, the average price really is up almost 15%. It's from $497 to, I think the average, including some of the other data from outside boards, shows that we're probably closer to $534 average price. Aurelia, I talked to the realtors up there. They're not seeing as much of a dramatic increase in price or a dramatic level of activity. Not as much multiple offer situation, but that push may come as some of the people try to get into housing in Barrie and can't get in these competitive situations and start pushing outwards towards Aurelia. And Angus has been strong, offers a great market class and great value that people are heading in that region. So, where do we go from here? Well, when we look at the 6-month overview, it really reflects what we're talking about for the rest of the county. Each area is stronger and stronger as the months have gone by. So overall, where are we going from here? If I had a crystal ball, I'd love to have one. I'd be able to give you those answers for sure. But what I have, as BDAR does, we have our finger on the pulse of the market. As you as a realtor do, we always advise you to use our tools to help you gauge your pricing with your clients. What sort of advice do you offer for the future? Well, we know that as long as you buy and sell in the same market, you can't lose. So you find something to buy, you find something to sell, you do it within the same few weeks, you're going to be okay. Hands down, it seems that way. It's been in the 33 years I've been in business, even in whatever swing it may be. So that's the best advice I can offer you in terms of timing. We know that job loss is going to be a huge factor in the real estate affordability. And I think that's where CMHC is getting this drop. They're trying to predict the future before the future happens, obviously, but they're trying to predict the future in this worst case scenario, and that's where job losses are realized in their own minds, and that could be quite dramatic. We don't actually know how that's going to pan out. It all depends on whether there's a cure. I mean, if they come up with a cure for COVID-19 tomorrow, this entire dynamics of everything could change. So what I tell you today is based on what I've heard, and that's that we might have a solution in the beginning of 2021 in terms of an antivirus or vaccine. So what we're looking at is when job losses are realized in October and CERB is there, and we know that there's a potential. Well, I think we've done a lot to actually circumvent the second wave. We've seen that obviously dramatically affect the U.S. But that's going to affect us as well. We've got a lot of people that like to go south, including myself, in the winter that aren't going to be going south. I know that locally that's provided a lot of influx of activity for some of the people that can provide it, but once, it's not fun to eat lunch on a patio in December, so what are we going to do then? So we don't know, but I do know that probably for the next month and next 2 months or even into the end of September, we're going to see some strong sales. We're going to see listing inventory is probably going to continue to increase, and then we'll see what October brings. But if you're out there working, keep going, keep your finger on the pulse of the market, buy and sell, get those deals done, and happy selling. If you need anything, BDAR is your best realtor life. We've got all the staff here to support you, and thanks for watching.